County 911, where is your emergency?
Somebody else is on the phone.
Hello?
This emergency call comes in on October 15, 2018, shortly after 1 a.m. at the Emergency Dispatch Center in Wisconsin. Whoever is calling is terrified. The person is unable to even give a name or an address or say what exactly happened. But the person doesn't need to say anything. The screams at the other end of the line tell enough. The police can trace the call back, find the house from which it was made, but they arrive too late. 2 people are dead, and there's no trace of a girl. Denise and James Kloss are a happy couple. They live in the U.S. state of Wisconsin, in a small town called Barron. With only about 3,000 people, the place is pretty sleepy. There isn't much to see there, but such a quiet town might be the perfect place to raise children. That is exactly the dream of Denise and James Kloss. And in 2005, that dream comes true when their daughter Jayme is born. The family is almost inseparable, especially mother Denise and daughter Jayme have a very close relationship. The older Jayme gets, the more she looks like her mother Denise. The two are like best friends, the family says, 2 peas in a pod. The family's everyday life is calm and relaxed. Both parents work for a company called Jenny O. Jayme goes to school, and in the afternoons and on weekends, the 3 spend a lot of time together as a family, along with their dog Molly. Jayme loves playing volleyball, dancing, and ice skating. It all seems like the perfect small-town American life. What the Kloss family doesn't notice is the person who is watching them in the fall of 2018, and has been for days already. At the beginning of October, a man drives to the Kloss house, and for a very specific reason, because of Jayme, the 13-year-old daughter. A month before, the man had seen Jayme getting off a bus and followed her all the way home. Since then, he can't get the girl out of his head. That's why he now drives to the family's house. He just sits there and watches them. 2 days later, he does the exact same thing again. On his 3rd visit, he doesn't just watch. This time, he has a weapon with him. On October 15, 2018, shortly after 1 a.m., someone forces their way into the Kloss family's house. It is the man who had already been watching the family twice before. Neither the parents, Denise and James, nor daughter Jayme know him. He is wearing black clothes and a dark ski mask. What exactly happens in the next few minutes inside the Kloss house is not completely clear. But what is clear is that the man has a weapon and no fear of using it. Jayme and her mother Denise hide together in the bathroom. They can hear that shots are being fired downstairs, and that their father and husband, James, suddenly falls silent. A 911 call is made from Denise's phone. You heard it at the beginning of the video. Sadly, the emergency center couldn't understand anything. But at least the call could be traced, and several police officers hurry to the family's house. At the quiet house of the Kloss family, the police find a scene of horror. Father James Kloss is lying dead at the entrance. Denise is also dead. Both were shot. And from daughter Jayme Kloss, there is no trace. The killer of Denise and James has kidnapped the 13-year-old daughter. The man who murdered James and Denise and abducted her is Jake Patterson. He himself is only 21 years old. He lives in the small town of Gordon, Wisconsin, about an hour's drive from the Kloss family's home. There, he lives alone in a small cabin, where he now takes Jayme. While the police in the small town have to solve the double murder of the Kloss couple and find the teenage Jayme, Jake already has a clear plan. He wants Jayme to live with him. And Jake himself, he continues on with life as normal, with the difference that he now holds a girl captive. Sometimes even friends or family visit Jake. When that happens, he forces Jayme to hide under his bed. He places laundry baskets and garbage cans around the bed and fills them with weights, like the ones used for weightlifting. He even stacks them on top of each other. For Jayme, who is squeezed under the bed, it is of course impossible to break out of her prison. Even if she could somehow push the containers aside, she wouldn't be able to stack them back up if she needed to return to her hiding spot. Jake threatens to hurt her badly if she tries to crawl out from under the bed. Every time Jake has visitors or leaves the house, Jayme has to hide under the bed. Sometimes he leaves her there for up to 12 hours without food, water, or any chance to use a toilet. While Jayme has to endure all of this only a few kilometers from her home in Barron, no one knows where she is. 1 week after Jayme's abduction, a huge search party forms in her hometown. The local police department gathers over 2,000 volunteers who search the area for signs of Jayme. Even though hundreds of tips are checked, the police are not able to track down Jake Patterson. On October 27th, the Kloss couple is laid to rest together. Their own daughter Jayme cannot attend the funeral. She is being held captive in her kidnapper's cabin. A few days later, there is another alarm at the Kloss family house. There is a burglar. The police cannot rule out that the murderer and kidnapper might have returned to the scene, so they rush to the house. They manage to arrest the burglar right there. It turns out to be a 32-year-old man named Kyle Janke. During a search, the officers find several small items from the Kloss family in his coat pocket. But they are not expensive electronics or anything like that. They are underwear from Jayme's room. The police can rule out that he had anything to do with Jayme's kidnapping and the double murder. Kyle later receives a probation sentence for the break-in. Sadly, it is just a false alarm. There is still no trace of Jayme. The girl remains missing for almost 3 months. Months later, on January 10, 2019, a woman named Jeanne Nutter is walking through the small town of Gordon, Wisconsin. Jeanne is out walking her dog Henry and is probably lost in thought when suddenly a young girl runs toward her. The girl looks strange. She is only wearing a thin shirt, leggings, and a pair of very large men's shoes. Still, Jeanne recognizes the girl immediately because her face had been all over the news recently. It is 13-year-old Jayme Kloss. Jeanne quickly takes the girl with her. They knock at the next neighbor's house and find safety there for now. Jayme seems shaken but overall fairly calm, and most of all, simply relieved. Jake Patterson had told Jayme that morning that he would be away for 5 or 6 hours to visit his mother. He had barricaded her under the bed again, but because Jayme knew he would be gone for a long time, she gathered all her courage and strength and freed herself. Then she simply ran outside, hoping to find someone to help her. Jeanne calls the police for Jayme because the 13-year-old can tell them exactly what happened.
Douglas County 911.
Hi. I have a young lady at my house right now, and she says her name is Jayme Kloss.
Okay, what's your address?
It's in Gordon, Wisconsin.
Okay, have you seen her photo, ma'am?
Yes, it is her. I 100% think it is her.
Are you okay?
100%.
Does it look like she's gonna run?
No, she's sitting down, she's relaxing.
Okay, hang on just a second. Can you ask the neighbor, did the female just walk up to her house, or how did she come across her?
Hold on 1 second. She wants to know where she came from, how you got her, etc. Okay.
So how did she come up upon your cabin?
I was walking my dog, and we were almost home, and she was walking towards me, crying, saying, "You gotta help me, you gotta help me."
Okay.
So I didn't want to go into my cabin because it's too close to Patterson.
And she said her name is Jayme Kloss?
Yep. And when I walked into this house, they recognized her immediately from photos.
Okay.
Jayme, do you know when he's going to come back? She thought he was going to come back home.
Who's going to come back?
His name is Jake Patterson. Jake Thomas Patterson.
I have many deputies headed that way. I'm going to keep you on the line.
Okay.
Only minutes later, a police patrol actually spots Jake Patterson's car. Jake had already returned and realized that Jayme had escaped. Now he was apparently driving around looking for her. Instead, he drives straight into the arms of the police. When the officers stop him, Jake Patterson surrenders without a fight and immediately gives a full confession. He tells them how he once saw Jayme from his car while she was on her school bus on the highway. When he saw her through the bus window, he knew he had to get her, and he would do anything to make that happen. After that, he drove to the Kloss family's home a few times to spy on them and prepared everything carefully. For example, before the attack, he shaved his head so he wouldn't leave any of his own hair at the crime scene, which could be used to collect his DNA. He also made several changes to his car, and shortly before turning onto the Kloss family street, he removed his license plate. And on the night of October 15, 2018, he acted. He murdered Denise and James Kloss to be able to kidnap 13-year-old Jayme. Jake had no connection to the Kloss family. He had only seen Jayme that one time on the school bus and chose her and her family as his target. After shooting her father and then her mother right in front of Jayme's eyes, Jake tied Jayme up with duct tape and put her in his car. Jake actually told investigators that about 20 seconds after he drove off with Jayme, he saw police cars rushing toward the house, so the kidnapping almost failed. He then brought Jayme to Gordon, where he hid her in his cabin. After 88 days of captivity, Jayme Kloss managed to free herself all on her own from her kidnapper's control. It's really hard to imagine how brave Jayme must have been in that moment. After her rescue, Jayme moves in with her mother's sister, where she grows up from then on. Even her little dog Molly, whom Jayme had raised together with her parents, lives with them now. The employer of Denise and James, Jayme's murdered parents, also thought of something special for the girl. In missing person cases, it's normal to offer a reward for tips that help find or rescue the missing person. But Jayme Kloss rescued herself. That's why the company Jenny O gave her the reward money, $25,000. Her kidnapper, Jake Patterson, is charged with 1 count of kidnapping, 1 count of armed burglary, and 2 counts of intentional homicide. Later, the court sentences him to life in prison. At the time, he had no prior criminal record. He had never gotten into trouble before. Even his closest family and friends noticed no warning signs that Jake would ever commit such a crime. During interrogations, Jake said that he had been discharged from the U.S. Marines in 2015, and it was then that the fantasy of kidnapping a young girl and keeping her at his place had begun. And 3 years later, he acted on it. After 88 days of holding Jayme captive, Jake apparently felt too confident and completely underestimated the girl's courage. Today, Jayme still lives with her aunt in Barron, Wisconsin. She is now a young woman. What exactly she is doing and how she is feeling is not known. After her rescue, her aunt spoke a few times about the case and said that Jayme was doing well under the circumstances. It sounds like Jayme has found exactly the right environment to slowly work through her traumatic experiences and grow into adulthood at the same time. The case is really shocking, but it's also a reminder of how important it is to never give up hope when someone goes missing. The story of Jayme Kloss also reminded me a little bit of the case of Mitzi Sanchez. She was also kidnapped as a teenager and managed to escape. If you know of other cases like Jayme's or Mitzi Sanchez's, feel free to write them in the comments. Maybe I'll cover them one day too. By the way, every interaction helps support the channel, because it makes it more likely that the video will be recommended to people who haven't subscribed to me yet. Thanks so much in advance. Here you can find the next chilling case. See you soon. Until then, stay safe.